The massive observation vessel hung silently in space, its crystalline hull reflecting the distant light of Earth's sun. Inside, Greenshell pressed his upper appendages against the viewing screen, his compound eyes widening as he watched the video feed from the surface for the fifth time. "Play it again," he ordered, his voice trembling slightly. The other scientists in the room exchanged worried glances but complied. The recording showed a group of humans pursuing a large four-legged creature across an open plain. The temperature readings were scorching, yet the humans continued their relentless pursuit. Hour after hour, they'd followed the animal's tracks. When it ran, they walked. When it hid, they found it. When it fled again, they pursued, never resting, never giving up. "Impossible," muttered Bluewing, the xenobiologist. "No predator should be able to hunt like this. They're not even using their primitive weapons yet." The recording continued as the humans tracked their prey through the night, using simple tools to follow tracks that would have been invisible to most species. By the second day, the target animal, what the humans called a kudu, was showing signs of heat exhaustion. Still, the humans pressed on. "Look at their thermal signatures." Greenshell pointed at the screen. "They're sweating. They're the only species we've ever encountered that uses liquid cooling so efficiently." He paused the recording. "And those are just their physical advantages." The observation room fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans weren't just hunting. They were demonstrating problem-solving skills that should have been impossible for a predator species. Most hunters in the galaxy relied on ambush tactics or short bursts of speed. But these humans? They used tools, planning, and most terrifyingly, they worked as a coordinated unit. "We need to show this to the Council," Bluewing said, his voice firm. "Especially the next part." Greenshell nodded and resumed the recording. The kudu, finally exhausted beyond its limits, could no longer run. The humans approached their prey, not with the frenzied excitement of typical predators, but with almost gentle reverence. They used their tools, simple sharp edges, to end the animal's life quickly and cleanly. "That's what truly sets them apart," Greenshell explained to the junior observers. "They're not just killers. They have developed something unprecedented: ethical hunting. They track, they pursue, they kill, but they minimize suffering. They use every part of their prey. They've turned predation into an art form." The recording ended, but the discussion was far from over. Reports from other observation teams began flooding in. Humans hunting in frozen tundras, in dense forests, in scorching deserts. Always with the same methodology: identify, pursue, exhaust, capture. Their success rate was staggering. "But surely they've evolved past this behavior?" asked a young observer. "They have machines now, cities, spacecraft." Greenshell pulled up another set of data on the main screen. "That's what makes them even more remarkable. Look at their combat tactics, their space exploration methods, their problem-solving approaches. Every single advancement they've made is built upon this foundation of being persistence predators. They don't just chase their prey across plains anymore. They chase their goals across years, decades, generations." He brought up an image of a human space mission. "They call this determination. The same drive that let them run down prey for days now lets them spend decades solving scientific problems. The same pack coordination that helped them hunt now helps them build global civilizations. They've taken every trait that made them successful hunters and applied it to every aspect of their existence." Bluewing stepped forward, his sensory appendages twitching nervously. "The Council needs to know. A species with the hunting instincts of an apex predator and the problem-solving skills of a social species. It's unprecedented." "Agreed," Greenshell said, preparing the report. "But remember our primary directive. Do not let them know we're watching. At least not yet." He looked back at the screen showing Earth, a species that never gives up, never stops pursuing its target, and has the intelligence to constantly improve its hunting methods. "We need to be very careful about first contact." The observation vessel adjusted its cloaking field and moved to a higher orbit. On the surface below, unaware of the anxious eyes watching them, humanity continued its relentless march forward, carrying with them the instincts and abilities that would soon reshape the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be a predator species. The great archive hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy as Green Shell presented his findings. The massive screens behind him showed endless streams of human historical data, each image more unsettling than the last. Their recorded history begins with cave paintings, he explained, pointing to ancient drawings. But notice what these paintings show. Not just successful hunts, but hunting strategies. They were teaching their young through art before they even had written language. The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The head of the council, Elder Gray, leaned forward. "Show us their technological progression." Green Shell nodded and changed the display. "This is where it gets interesting. Most species develop technology to escape their natural limitations. Humans, they develop technology to enhance their predatory advantages. The screens filled with images, spears extending their reach, boats expanding their hunting grounds, guns amplifying their killing power. But it wasn't the weapons that caused the most concern among the council members. "Look at this," Green Shell continued, displaying the human city. Their dwellings. They build them in patterns similar to ancient hunting formations. Their roads, they mirror pursuit paths. Even their satellites orbit in patterns that reflect hunting strategies. Blue Wing stepped forward to add his analysis. Their games and sports all practice hunting skills. Running competitions test endurance. Team sports train group coordination. Even their children play tag, literally practicing pursuit and evasion from an early age. Elder Gray raised an appendage. "But surely they've moved past their predatory nature. They have art, music, literature." "That's the most fascinating part," Green Shell replied. He brought up new images, human art galleries, concert halls, and libraries. They turned their predatory focus into creativity. When they can't physically chase something, they pursue ideas. Their greatest thinkers spent decades hunting scientific truths. Their artists pursue perfect forms. Their musicians chase impossible melodies. The presentation continued, showing human medical achievements. They even hunt death itself. Their doctors pursue cures with the same relentless determination their ancestors used to track prey. They refuse to accept limitations. A council member from a prey species spoke up, their voice trembling. "Are they dangerous to us?" Blue Wing answered carefully. "They are dangerous in the way all apex predators are dangerous. But they've developed something remarkable. Control. They can switch their hunting instincts on and off. They've developed complex moral codes about when and how to use their predatory abilities." The screen showed humans helping injured animals, protecting endangered species, and rebuilding ecosystems. They're not mindless killers. They've evolved into something new, predators who can choose to be protectors. Green Shell brought up the final data set. Their space program proves it. They approach space exploration exactly like their ancient hunters approached tracking prey. They study, they prepare, they pursue their goals with unlimited patience. When their missions fail, they learn and try again. They never give up. Elder Gray stood, silencing the murmuring council. "What is your recommendation?" "We need to make contact," Green Shell said firmly, but carefully. Humans are used to being the apex predators of their world. Learning about galactic civilization will challenge that position. We must handle this delicately. Blue Wing added, "They could be invaluable allies. Their hunting instincts, combined with their intelligence and technological advancement, make them unique in the galaxy. No other species has their combination of persistence, problem-solving, and pack coordination." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Elder Gray spoke. "Prepare for first contact. But remember, we are not dealing with simple predators or simple prey. We are dealing with something the galaxy has never seen before, Predators who choose their hunts, who can turn their hunting instincts toward any goal, who can shift from hunters to protectors at will. As the council session ended, Green Shell looked one last time at the screens showing human history. From simple hunters to space explorers, their predatory nature had shaped everything they did. Now that same nature would shape their entry into galactic society. The question wasn't whether humans would impact the galaxy. It was how the galaxy would handle having the ultimate predator species join their civilization. The grand meeting hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Stone walked in. His footsteps echoed off the crystal walls, steady, confident, purposeful. The alien representatives couldn't help but notice how he moved. Smooth, controlled, like a predator perfectly aware of its surroundings. Green Shell watched from his observation post as several prey species representatives backed away slightly. They couldn't help it. Millions of years of evolution had taught their kinds to fear creatures that moved the way humans did. "Welcome, Ambassador," Elder Gray said, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "We are honored to have Earth join our galactic community." Stone smiled, and several council members flinched. The human expression exposed teeth, a predator's warning display in most of the galaxy's cultures. But what truly unsettled them was his direct eye contact. Most species saw it as a challenge, a threat. Humans used it as a sign of respect. "The honor is ours," Stone replied, his voice carrying easily across the chamber. "Humanity has dreamed of this moment since we first looked up at the stars." The formal introductions began, but Green Shell noticed the subtle reactions around the room. The herbivorous species clustered together, their natural instincts taking over. The few predator species present watched with unusual interest. They recognized a fellow hunter but couldn't quite categorize this new threat. "We have studied your species carefully," Elder Gray continued. "Your achievements are remarkable." Stone nodded, taking the diplomatic seat offered to him. Even sitting, he maintained perfect posture, ready to move at any moment. It wasn't a conscious choice. It was simply how humans were. "We have concerns," spoke up Representative Softfur, from a prey species coalition. "Your species' history shows a pattern of territorial expansion and resource consumption." "That's true," Stone acknowledged openly, causing surprised murmurs. Most species would have denied or deflected such accusations, but it also shows our ability to learn and adapt. "We've made mistakes, but we've worked hard to fix them." He gestured to the data displays showing Earth's recent environmental restoration projects. "We're predators who learned to protect, hunters who understood the importance of balance." "Pretty words," another representative cut in. "But we've seen the records of your wars. Your hunting tactics scaled up to terrifying levels." Stone's expression grew serious. "Yes, we can be dangerous. Every tool, every strategy that helped us hunt can be used for war. But those same skills can be used to protect, to solve problems, to help others." The chamber erupted in heated discussion. Green Shell noticed how Stone remained perfectly still during the chaos. Not the nervous stillness of prey, but the patient stillness of a predator assessing its surroundings. Elder Gray raised his appendages for silence. Perhaps a demonstration would help. "Ambassador Stone, would you be willing to show us how humans approach problem-solving?" Stone stood up, moving to the central platform. The Council's AI projected a complex puzzle, a standard test for new species. Most took hours to solve it. Stone studied it with intense focus, his eyes tracking every detail. "There," he said after just minutes, pointing out the solution path. "It's like tracking prey through a forest. You look for patterns, signs, traces of where the answer might have gone. Then you follow them, step by step, until you reach your goal." The council members watched in stunned silence. He hadn't just solved the puzzle. He'd explained it in terms that revealed humanity's fundamental nature. Everything came back to the hunt. As the session ended, Green Shell overheard worried whispers among the council members. They'd expected diplomats and found predators. They'd wanted assurances and found honesty about humanity's dangerous potential. Stone's final words to the council lingered in the air. We know what we are. We're hunters who chose to be more. We're predators who learn to protect. And if you give us a chance, we'll show you that having the galaxy's ultimate predator as an ally is far better than having us as a potential enemy. The warning was clear, yet so was the promise. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same. Emergency alarms blared through the Galactic Council chamber. The massive display screen showed scenes of destruction as the swarm tore through the outer colony world of Haven 3. Thousands of black, insect-like ships darkened the skies of the peaceful farming world. Our defenses have failed, reported the colony defense commander, his image flickering on the main screen. The swarm. They're unlike anything we've faced before. They don't respond to warnings. They don't negotiate. They just consume. Elder Gray turned to the gathered representatives. Our standard tactics are useless. The swarm overwhelms our defensive positions with sheer numbers. We need new ideas, quickly. Ambassador Stone had been watching silently, his eyes tracking the swarm's movement patterns. Now he stepped forward, and the council chamber grew quiet. The humans had been part of the galactic community for less than a standard year, but everyone had learned to pay attention when they spoke about tactical matters. You're fighting them wrong, Stone said simply. You're thinking like prey, setting up defensive positions and hoping to survive their attacks. We need to think like predators. Blue Wing, now serving as a military advisor, tilted his head. Explain. Stone pointed to the tactical display. The swarm acts like a superorganism, like a herd of prey animals on Earth. And what's the best way to hunt a herd? He paused, letting the question hang in the air. You don't attack it head-on. You separate it, isolate smaller groups, wear them down. Impossible, one of the military commanders argued. Their numbers are too great. Our ships would be overwhelmed. Stone smiled, and several council members still found themselves instinctively uneasy at the sight of exposed teeth. Not if we hunt them properly. Humanity's first great hunting technique wasn't about being stronger or faster than our prey. It was about being more persistent. He moved to the tactical controls, his fingers dancing over the holographic interface. Look at their pattern. The swarm moves together, attacks together, feeds together. But what happens if we disrupt that pattern? If we keep them moving, keep them from feeding, keep them from resting? The display showed a new tactical simulation. Small, fast ships harassing the swarm's flanks. Larger vessels cutting through their formation, splitting them into smaller groups. A constant, relentless pressure that never gave them time to regroup. This is how we used to hunt on Earth, Stone explained. We didn't need to be stronger than a mammoth or faster than a deer. We just needed to keep pushing, keep following, never letting them rest until exhaustion did our work for us. The council chamber was silent as they watched the simulation play out. The swarm's overwhelming numbers became a disadvantage as their formation broke apart, individual groups becoming confused and disorganized. Human ships are perfect for this, Stone continued. We built them like we build everything, to pursue, to endure, to outlast. Our crews are naturally suited for long-duration pursuit operations. We can keep this up far longer than the swarm can maintain their cohesion. Elder Gray studied the simulation results. This is very different from our traditional military doctrine. It would require tremendous coordination and endurance. That's what humans do best, Stone replied. We're persistence predators. We don't give up. We don't get tired of the chase. We keep going until we reach our goal. He turned to face the council. Let us show you how humanity hunts. The council members looked at each other. They had invited humans into their civilization, knowing they were predators, but this was the first time they would see humanity's hunting instincts applied on a galactic scale. Elder Gray made the decision. Coordinate with Commander Wright of the Human Defense Fleet. Show us this hunting strategy of yours, Ambassador. As Stone left to begin preparations, Green Shell whispered to Blue Wing. The galaxy is about to learn why Earth's creatures evolved so many ways to hide from humans. The greatest hunt in history is about to begin. The emergency alarms continued to sound, but now they carried a different meaning. They weren't just warnings of danger. They were the signal that the predators were beginning their hunt. Commander Wright stood on the bridge of the human flagship Pursuit, watching as his fleet moved into position. The massive view screens showed thousands of swarm ships spreading across the star system, their black hulls blocking out the starlight. "All ships report ready," his first officer announced. "The alien observers are aboard and monitoring." Wright nodded, remembering the briefing. The Council wanted to witness humanity's hunting tactics firsthand. Green Shell and several other observers stood at the back of the bridge, their recording devices capturing every moment. "Begin Phase 1, Wright ordered. "Release the scouts." Hundreds of small, fast human ships shot forward. They didn't attack the swarm directly. Instead, they probed and tested, like fingers feeling for a pulse. The swarm responded predictably, turning to chase the scouts with overwhelming numbers. "Just like herding cattle," Wright muttered. The aliens looked confused at his words, but he didn't explain. Every human understood this strategy in their bones. It was coded into their DNA from thousands of generations of hunting. The scout ships darted between the swarm formations, breaking up their neat patterns. Wherever the swarm tried to regroup, another scout would appear, forcing them to split again. It was exactly like their ancestors separating animals from the herd. "Phase 2, Wright commanded. "Begin the pressure." Larger warships moved in, their engines burning hot and steady. They didn't try to match the swarm's frantic pace. Instead, they maintained a constant, relentless pursuit. When the swarm accelerated, the human ships kept their steady pace. When the swarm slowed, the humans were there, pushing them forward again. "I don't understand," one of the alien observers said. "Why don't you attack directly? You have the weapons." "Because that's not how we hunt," Wright explained, his eyes never leaving the tactical display. "We're not the fastest or strongest predator. We're the most persistent. We don't need to win every engagement. We just need to keep them moving until they're too exhausted to fight back." Hour after hour, the human fleet maintained their pressure. The swarm tried to rest, to regroup, to feed on the energy sources they normally consumed. Each time, the human ships were there, forcing them to move again. Like ancient hunters tracking deer through endless forests, they simply didn't stop. "Phase 3, Wright ordered as he saw the first signs of disorder in the swarm. "Close the net." The human fleet began to tighten their formation. Ships that had been herding the swarm from behind now moved to the sides, forming a giant curve in space. The swarm, already exhausted from constant movement, found themselves being channeled into a smaller and smaller area. Green Shell watched in fascination as the tactical display told the story. The swarm's movements were becoming erratic, disorganized. Individual ships began breaking formation, their coordinated behavior falling apart under the relentless pressure. "Like our ancestors," Wright said, almost to himself. They didn't need to outrun the prey. They just needed to keep it moving until it couldn't run anymore. The swarm tried one last desperate attack, throwing thousands of ships at the human line. But Wright had predicted this too. His fleet parted like water, letting the attack pass through, then closed again, cutting off another section of the swarm from the main group. "Final phase," Wright commanded. "End it." Now finally, the human ships attacked. But it wasn't the chaotic brawl the aliens expected. It was methodical, precise, like hunters making a clean kill after a long chase. The exhausted, scattered swarm couldn't coordinate their defenses. Section by section, they were surrounded and eliminated. When it was over, Green Shell approached Wright. "Your species hunted like this on Earth." Wright nodded. Every human knows this dance in their blood. The patient pursuit, the steady pressure, the final strike. We've been doing it since we first stood upright on the African plains. The alien observers shared uncomfortable looks. They had just witnessed humanity's hunting heritage adapted to space warfare, and the results were both brilliant and terrifying. As the fleet regrouped, Wright allowed himself a small smile. The galaxy had just learned an important lesson. Never underestimate the species that had evolved to chase their prey across entire continents. Now they could chase them across the stars. The remnants of the swarm fled toward their home system, passing through clouds of deadly radiation that would kill most living creatures. They thought they were safe. They were wrong. The human fleet followed. In the Council observation ship, Green Shell watched in disbelief as the human vessels plunged into the radiation field without hesitation. Next to him, Commander Wright calmly sipped his coffee. "Your ships will be damaged," Green Shell protested. "Your crews will endure," Wright finished. "Just like our ancestors endured burning deserts and freezing mountains to track their prey. Humans can tolerate more environmental extremes than almost any other species. We built our ships the same way." The massive screens showed the human fleet splitting into hunting groups, each one tracking a different segment of the broken swarm. They moved through asteroid fields that would have stopped most pursuers, using the very obstacles as tools to herd their prey. "Look at their efficiency," Blue Wing noted, studying the tactical displays. "They're not just chasing blindly. They're predicting where the swarm will go, cutting off escape routes, forcing them toward killing grounds." The swarm tried every desperate trick they knew. They dove into gas giants, hoping the pressure would crush their pursuers. The human ships adjusted their shields and followed. They flew through the corona of their home star, thinking the heat would stop the hunt. The human ships merely adapted their cooling systems and kept coming. "This is why Earth's creatures developed so many defense mechanisms," Wright explained as they watched. "Running didn't work, we would follow. Hiding didn't work, we would find them. The only creatures that survived were the ones that evolved better ways to avoid being hunted in the first place." The swarm made its final stand in orbit around their home world. Millions of ships gathered in a defensive formation that would have made any other attacker pause. The human fleet didn't even slow down. "Now," said Wright, "you'll see why we're the ultimate predators. It's not just about the pursuit. It's about adaptation." The human ships suddenly changed their tactics. Instead of their previous methodical approach, they struck with lightning speed. Ships that had been pursuit vessels became attack craft. Vessels that had been herding the swarm transformed into weapon platforms. "Like switching from tracking to killing," Wright continued. "Different phases of the hunt require different approaches. We've always been able to change our tactics mid-hunt. That's what made us so dangerous on Earth." The Council observers watched in awe as the human fleet demonstrated hunting techniques perfected over hundreds of thousands of years, now applied to space warfare. They corralled the swarm, split them into smaller groups, and systematically eliminated them. "Notice how they're doing it," Blue Wing pointed out to his fellow observers. "Quick, clean kills. No wasted energy. No unnecessary destruction. Even now, they're being efficient predators." When it was over, the human fleet formed up around the swarm's homeworld, not to destroy it, but to contain it. Like Earth's wildlife preserves, they would ensure the swarm never threatened the galaxy again. In the aftermath, Green Shell approached Wright with a question that had been bothering him. "Your ships and crews endured radiation, pressure, heat. How do you train for such extremes?" Wright smiled. "We don't need special training. Every human carries the legacy of ancestors who chased prey through volcanic valleys and Arctic wastes. We built our ships to match our natural abilities. The ability to endure anything in pursuit of our goal." The observers filed their reports to the Council, but words could hardly capture what they'd witnessed. Humanity hadn't just defeated an enemy. They'd demonstrated why they were the galaxy's ultimate predators. Unlike simple hunters that rely on speed or strength, humans had shown they could adapt to any environment, overcome any obstacle, and pursue any prey until it could run no further. As Wright had said during the final battle, the galaxy needed to understand. Earth's creatures didn't develop their incredible survival adaptations by accident. They developed them because, For millions of years, they were being hunted by something that simply would not stop. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked different now. Where prey species once clustered together away from the human representatives, they now gathered close to Ambassador Stone. The victory over the swarm had changed everything. Elder Gray called the session to order, his voice carrying a new tone of respect. We are here to establish humanity's new role in the galactic community. Their actions against the swarm have proven them to be more than we initially understood. Stone stood at the center of the chamber, his predator's stance now bringing comfort rather than fear to the assembled species. The massive screens behind him showed scenes from the Great Hunt. Human ships pursuing the swarm through impossible conditions, protecting weaker species, turning their predatory nature into a shield for civilization. We propose a new classification, Elder Gray announced. Humanity will be designated as a guardian species, the first of its kind. The chamber erupted in approving sounds from a dozen different species. Even the few predator races present nodded in agreement. They had witnessed something remarkable, a predator species that could channel its hunting instincts into protection. There's a story from Earth, Stone began, his voice carrying easily across the chamber, about wolves being reintroduced to a national park. Everyone thought they would just kill prey animals. Instead, they restored balance to the entire ecosystem. Sometimes, the right predator in the right place makes everything better. Green Shell, now promoted to Chief Observer, activated a holographic display. We've analyzed humanity's impact on galactic society. Their methods have already begun spreading. Their persistence hunting strategies are being adapted for everything from scientific research to space exploration. The display showed dozens of worlds where human techniques were being implemented. Search and rescue teams learning to track like human hunters. Research vessels using persistence pursuit methods to study space phenomena. Even civilian ships adopting human endurance standards. But more importantly, Blue Wing added, stepping forward, they've changed how we see predator species. Humans have proven that predatory instincts can be used for protection, not just hunting. Stone nodded. That's what we've been trying to tell you. Being a predator isn't just about killing. It's about protecting territory, maintaining balance, ensuring survival. We learned that on Earth, and now we can apply it to the galaxy. The Council's new security displays activated, showing the defensive network humanity had helped design. It was based on ancient hunting patterns, constant vigilance, quick response to threats, coordinated group action. The same instincts that once helped humans track deer across plains now help them guard civilization across star systems. There will be challenges, Elder Gray acknowledged. Other species will need time to adapt to this new order. But the swarm taught us something important. The galaxy needs predators. The right kind of predators. Stone's expression grew serious. We understand the responsibility. Earth's history taught us what happens when predators abuse their power. That's why we developed art, science, philosophy, ways to channel our hunting instincts into creation instead of destruction. The council members watched as the displays showed human ships patrolling the galaxy's edges. They'd moved like wolves guarding their territory, alert and powerful but controlled. Their presence alone deterred most threats. Few species wanted to attract the attention of the galaxy's ultimate predators. Let this be the beginning of a new era, Elder Gray declared, where humanity's predatory nature serves as a shield for galactic civilization, where the instincts that made them fearsome hunters now make them invaluable guardians. As the session ended, Green Shell approached Stone. Did you ever imagine this, when we first contacted Earth? Stone smiled, but it was no longer unsettling to the alien observer. We always hoped to find our place in the stars. We just didn't expect it would be so similar to our place on Earth, the apex predator turned protector. The Great Hall slowly emptied, but the change it had witnessed would echo across the galaxy. Humanity had proven that being the ultimate predator didn't mean being the ultimate killer. It meant being the ultimate protector, with the strength to defend and the wisdom to know when to use it. The hunt was over. The age of the Guardians had begun.